Hey there! If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. I'll say that again. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast. Oh, yep, with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. Now it's time for the Big Bad Broadcast.
Yes.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Big Bad Broadcast Friday noon show. And we hope your weekend's going to be great. I hope you had a good week so far. And we got a great show for you, too. We got a great female comedian, and we're very excited to have her here. She's done everything. She's been on a million shows, but we'll get back to that in a little while. But first, let me introduce you our cast, straight from Hollywood, Hollywood's bad guy, Mr. Mike Green.
Oh, yeah, let me tell you something there, Ferrantino. You know, I've been hanging and banging. I've been saying my prayers, eating my vitamins, man. Let me tell you, I'm ready for the show. Yeah.
I was waiting for you to tag somebody for someone else to come in. And we got Joe Silky. We're glad he made it. He's had a little bit of a cold lately.
Whoa.
Oh, that's
Oh,
fishy.
my God.
Got a lot of soul, that guy.
And a bit of a haddock. And we got our Yoda, our man of mystery, our guy from another planet, Craig Mitchell. Yoda.
How you guys doing?
What a great!
Maybe we need the stickers. Maybe we need the stickers for your eyes today.
Oh my God! I think he got beamed up halfway through. All right. So as every week we talk about things that bother us, things that excite us, and today is going to be no different. Today we are going to talk about movies, good movies, bad movies, whatever movies. So let's pass around the horn. Mike, you got anything you want to talk about?
Well, are we talking about? I originally was thinking about. We said the first movie we'd ever seen,
Right.
and as far as my memory goes, the first. Now, this is obviously we're all going to be dating ourselves, but the first movie I ever remember going to the movie theater and seeing was the 7-Ups. It was either that or I have this other memory of a movie called The Don is Dead. I remember nothing about the movies. Now, I'll tell you about the first comedy that I ever saw, which I think had a huge. I think movies have a huge influence on people's life. First comedy that I ever remember seeing in the theater was Monty Python and the Quest for the Holy Grail. Changed the trajectory of my life.
Whooped your life. What was the scariest movie you've ever seen?
Oh, without bar none, Jaws. For me, you know, Jaws affected the next 35 years of my life. I saw the movie Jaws, and I did not go. I had not even a toe in the ocean for like 35 years. Because I know
what year did Jaws come out? What year did Jaws come out?
What year? Well, let's ask Craig.
75.
Huh?
75.
75. Okay.
Yeah, that was in the height of my surfing and contests and everything in those days. I remember the only thing I remember is we used to surf in the dark, you know, until, you know, you couldn't see anymore. But as soon as that started to get dark, we were out of the water when that movie came out.
Yeah, no kidding. Such a great beginning, the erotic, like the girl taking off her clothes, running down the beach, and she's swimming, and it's like, oh my God, how perfect. And then, you hear that music and it's like, oh my, forget it.
I just read an interesting story that they found, I guess they made 3 Jaws figures,
Right.
and they found one of them in a junkyard that this guy bought from the lot because it was all decaying and everything. And he bought it and he had it hanging up on his junkyard thing. And I guess whoever the studio was that produced that was Spielberg, right? Did that?
Yeah.
Spielberg bought it back
It's
and now
universal.
they're putting it in. Now they're putting it in the museum.
Geez,
But the guy had it as his sign. Like
you talk about making somebody dumpster diving, because I bet you that thing sold for a lot of money.
oh, I'm sure.
I just saw Antiques Roadshow the other day, and they had the clapper from the movie Jaws, and they had it valued. I think that was worth $30,000 and $40,000 just for the clapboard.
It's so funny that you should mention the roadshow. Not to get off topic, but I just told Joe this story. I saw it last night, and this woman brings in this statue wrapped in a towel. And she says, this was from my grandmother's, great-grandmother's, and I was told it's from the Ming Dynasty. And I think it's pretty old. I just want to know what you think it's worth. And she unwraps it, and the guy goes, oh. Or
was it more like...
Yeah, he takes out his pocket square, and he goes, excuse me. Oh, my God. And it was like, he goes, it's not from the Ming Dynasty. It's from before there. It's from 500 AD.
Wow.
And he's going, oh, Huck, can I hold it? It was like the funniest thing I've ever seen. He looks on the bottom and goes, you can see the chisel marks, and you can see the detail on the lion.
How much was it worth?
In auction, this would go for a minimum of $250,000 to $350,000.
Wow.
And the guy goes, yay!
That's what Joe said. At that point, we should have dropped it.
Stuff from the Ming Dynasty isn't worth as much. That's the proof that Italians and Chinese had relations back then. Because it's like, what dynasty? Oh, it's the Ming.
So
what's wrong with you? It's a Ming Dynasty.
Was the Ming Dynasty before or after Flash Gordon? I'm kind of confused.
The Ming Dynasty was before General Cho's chicken.
No, nothing's before that. No, maybe
let's get back to movies. Who's next? Craig will have some absurd movie we never heard of.
I know.
As far as what? Which
first movie?
What was the first one you ever saw in the theater?
The first movie I ever saw in the theater was Mary Poppins. My friend's maid took me to see it, and because we had to be home at 4:00, we left during the tea on the ceiling scene, and I still don't know how it ends.
Like I'm supposed to know the tea on the ceiling scene.
Yeah, they all float up in the air. They have tea in the air.
I have never seen the movie Mary Poppins.
Either have I.
Wow.
And I used to do a joke in my act when I came out with the carpet bag. I go, you like this bag? I stole it from Mary Poppins. I had to kill her because she wouldn't let me dance with the penguin.
Even though my friend Jeff Sherman, his uncle and father wrote all that stuff, but I never saw the movie.
I didn't see the whole movie until about 8 years ago when I rented it, and I love it. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
And the scariest movie I ever saw, without a doubt, I made the mistake of watching it like at 11:30 at night on a Saturday night when I was like 11, was Night of the Living Dead. Oh, my God.
The scariest part of that movie to me is when the zombie ate that big bug off the tree.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, he just picks up this big centipede and just eats it. And I was like, it was so horrifying to me. More than them ripping people apart. It was just like, that was so gross. Joe, what is your first movie and all-time favorite?
I can't remember what my first movie was, but I remember seeing Mary Poppins in the theater, and I remember seeing Oliver and the Disney movies. I know
Wasn't your first movie like a Harold Lloyd movie? When it was first released?
Actually, it was an Edison movie. That was good.
What was the scariest movie you've ever saw?
The Exorcist.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like...
I thought he was going to say Mary Poppins.
Yeah, because like you went... There was a lot of hype about it. You went and you go, no, it can't be that scary. Can't be that scary. And all of a sudden you watch it and it's going, oh, my God.
Rosemary's Baby was a lot like that.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't see that.
I'm not a big horror fan, but,
No, The Exorcist is horrifying. And to this day, when somebody pees on my rug, I can't. I get scared.
Well, you want to hear something funny? I did a show years ago. This is a long time ago. I think it was called with Terry Polo. It was called I'm With Her.
Yes.
And I had a scene with this shows you Freddy Krueger.
Robert Englund.
And so nice guy, just the most mellow, but he played Freddy Krueger. And I just remember met him, shook his hand. I'd never seen the Freddy Krueger movies, but everyone else on the set, there was all these extras and everything. They would stay on the other side. I mean, he embodied Freddy Krueger, and they were terrified of him. The extras, and I think even some of the crew were terrified of this guy. It was like the funniest thing.
That's so funny. Well, my first talkie.
My first talkie.
I knew you were going to say that. My first movie that I remember seeing being scared out of my mind was I went to the drive-in movie like with a family, but it was just my dad and I, we saw the movie The Fly.
Oh man!
I couldn't even sleep. I mean, I literally could not sleep.
Yeah.
Then the first scary movie I went to see on my own on a Saturday was Vincent Price, The House of the Rise of Ushers, which was just horrible. At night, the vampires' hands would come out and scrape the coffins. It was horrifying. I can still visually see it.
The Fly.
Okay, go ahead.
I just remember from The Fly, there was the scene when the guy put himself in the crusher to crush half of his. Oh my God, you're right, Nightmare City, man.
What was really scary to me was he comes out and he's covered with a blanket, and his hand falls out of the blanket, and it's a big mosquito hand.
Yeah.
It was horrible. A fly hand, not a mosquito. And the scariest movie my son ever saw was, I think I told you this story, when this is a great story. When my wife was going out with Lindsay for the weekend somewhere, and and she asked him, "Do you want to go?" And he goes, "No, I'm going to stay with Dad. We're going to do guy things," which I loved as a father. So we watched the hockey game, we watched a football game, and then I was going to take him to a movie, and I wasn't going to take him to any of these Disney movies. So I looked in the paper and saw Denzel Washington. I mean, wasn't Denzel, was it? No,
probably not back then. Oh, it could have been actually. Lindsay.
No, who was it?
Wesley Snipes.
Wesley Snipes. So I figured Wesley Snipes, big shoot 'em up movie, cars blowing up and stuff. So I take him to the movie. It's called Bleed. Right? So he sits. This is how young he was. He had a booster seat, a big popcorn, and a soda. And I go, "You're gonna love this movie." The movie starts, and you just hear this boom, 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 and the disco and flashing lights. Then all of a sudden, a sprinkler head opens up, and blood comes out. And he goes, "Is that blood?" And I go, "No, it's probably just red paint." And he goes, "Are you sure? It looks like blood." I go, "No, it's not." Now I'm going, "What the hell is going to happen?" All of a sudden, they all open up. All their faces turn into vampires. Their teeth come out. They start biting each other's necks. I look over, and he goes like this. He goes, "That is blood. These are vampires. I am out of here." And he throws everything up in the air, and he runs down the aisle screaming.
Oh, man.
And to this day, he hates horror movies. So I calm him down the lobby, and I go, "Look, let's just go to a different movie." And he's like, "Oh, okay." I bring him into this movie. We sit down, and I didn't really realize either. The movie was Anaconda. So I kind of ruined his life, I guess.
The huge snake on the screen should have given you a little hint there, John.
That was so funny. We walked in, and it was just a scene where these people are talking, and he's going, "Oh, this is better." And then the snake comes in and starts eating them.
See, that reminds me of me and my friend in 1997. We paid money and went and saw Batman and Robin, which, if you haven't seen it, is one of the worst. It's not even good bad. It's bad. And
yeah,
we were so pissed after we saw that movie. We walk outside. It was a big multiplex. We go, "You know what? This theater they owe us another movie." And we go, "Yeah, let's just sneak into another movie." And in our intelligence, in that moment of clarity, we walked into Speed 2 Cruise Control, which is even worse than Batman.
Another classic.
I'll tell you a classic, and then we got to bring on our guest. I'll tell you a classic. Years ago, when I was probably 13 years old, there was an Alfred Hitchcock movie called Homicidal. And it was advertised, if you do not want to see the last terrifying
that's the documentary
5 minutes of this movie, when the alarm goes off, you can go to the lobby and get a full refund, right? So my friend and I watched the movie, snuck into the bathroom, waited till the theater emptied, cleared, and refilled, watched the entire movie until the last 7 minutes just to get our money back.
Nice.
That's how cheap it was. And I think at the time, it was probably 50 cents to go to the movies. All right, well, let's get started.
Not yet, John. We still got stuff to talk about. Here, wait, let me do this.
Oh, okay.
let me just apologize. My cat attacked my hand. That's why I screamed.
Oh, and my dog started barking because he saw that you were hurt from your cat.
There you go. Well, your dog wants to protect me. I like that.
My guest isn't here yet. She missed all this good stuff.
Yes.
She might be listening. You never know.
She just, I think she just went into the waiting room.
Yes.
But if you wanted to, I was thinking of the worst movie you were saying. So would you want to do that? So what's the worst? Batman and Robin?
Oh.
That's your...
It's not the worst movie I ever saw, but it was the worst movie I ever paid for.
Yeah.
I saw a movie once called Raymond. And it was like...
Not Rain Man, Raymond.
Yeah, that was a good movie, yeah.
Not Rain Man, Raymond. And it was in the 70s. It was so bad. It was about a guy who was in a coma and he got people to do things for him. And it was so bad I walked out. I never walked out on any other movie in my life.
That's called Trump now. They call that Trump, that movie.
See, again, I'll date myself. I remember going to the movies and I forget what year it was, but we went to buy the tickets and we said the name of the movie and the guy behind said, "Listen, man," he goes, I'm telling you now, the movie is so bad. People are walking out on this movie left and right. He goes, "I will not give you your money back if you decide to go in."
Wasn't it Mondo Video?
Mr. Mike's Mondo Video. It was just...
Oh, that's like that movie we were all in, Rider PI, with all the comics from Long Island. When we went to see it, all of us as a group. And we said, "I have 14 tickets for Rider PI." And the guy goes, "Are you sure? We've only sold 5 tickets all weekend, and 3 people wanted their money back." So, yeah, it didn't really give you a good feeling.
All right. Well, I think our guest is in the waiting room.
All right, one more question. Really quick round. One word answer. What movie did you go to that you thought was going to suck but was really good? Or really made you laugh or whatever? I'll go first. Ted. I thought, like, this is going to be the worst movie ever, and it really made me laugh.
I'll go with Napoleon Dynamite.
Good one.
I saw the thing and I went, "This is just so stupid." And then I saw it and I was like, "Oh my God, this is incredible. I love it."
Mine was. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
No, go ahead, Greg.
You go ahead, Joe.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go. Mine was Fright Night.
Okay. Fright Night is good. Yeah. I remember going to the Uniondale Mini Cinema.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And seeing the Rocky Horror Picture Show, not knowing what it was.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was before it was like popular with the midnight shows and stuff.
Yeah.
It was like playing during the week.
I got into a fight.
I
got into a fight the first time I saw it because there was a guy in front of me all dressed up like a woman, but he kept putting his ass in. And this was at the time before I was civilized. And whatever. It didn't turn out well for him. I understand it was part of the show. They used to stand up and act out the show and throw shit. But the people that took me didn't tell me about that, didn't warn me that that's what happened at the show. And so they got what they deserved.
This is way before all that. It was just like, you're just sitting there and you watch this movie and all of a sudden it's like, what the heck? And it was great.
All right. Well, listen, let's bring Jann in for the second time. It's like a deja vu. I'm really happy to have our next guest on the show. She's done it all. She's been on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. She's been on David Letterman. She was on the Young Comedian Special. She's been on Seinfeld, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and she's got lots of other stuff we're going to talk about. So let's bring on Jann Karam.
Yay!
So,
hi, everyone. I'm supposed to say hi. That Katie Couric does. I'm so happy that you're here. Listen, I want to ask you. Okay, so anyway, I feel like that. Is that how I'm supposed to be as a podcast?
That's the way you're supposed to be.
Yeah, she's a host. Huh? Sorry.
So John should be that way with you.
Yes. Yeah.
It's so happy to have you here. I've been
so I want to ask you.
So just a couple of questions I want to ask you. All right, let's start off with just the normal, boring podcast questions.
Okay.
So where were you originally born?
I'm from a small town in Arizona.
Where were you originally born? Like she was
As
born a
opposed-
couple of times.
I was. I was
originally born. And
wait,
then where did?
Okay, go ahead.
And then where did you grow up?
That's where I grew up. I was born in Phoenix, Arizona, and then I grew up in a small town in Arizona. And I might want to hear my joke about it, although I shouldn't say. I should just do it. 5,000 people, mostly Hispanic. Although when I was growing up, they were Mexican. but then I'm always afraid, like, is that racist now? Because what does it even mean? But it's just because I'm Middle Eastern, and even people think I'm Jewish, so I went with that. I'm like, oh, let's just say I'm Jewish, and but so then I just think because I was in that small town, and I didn't really fit in. So
you're Middle Eastern, but apparently you never meet Middle Eastern enough to get those roles. You told me.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Not Jewish enough, not Middle Eastern enough.
So your family came from the Middle East and wanted to heat things up and went to Phoenix.
Yeah,
the only place.
Yeah, they wanted the desert. Yeah, I don't know.
So, where did you start doing comedy then?
Oh, I started in Arizona in college. I started at the Playboy Club,
right?
And they had a really nice showroom, and then we had Macayo's Mexican food restaurant. And we would get paid one chimichanga per joke. That's another one of my jokes. And then, you know what a chimichanga is?
Yes.
It's like a burrito that's
right.
But anyway, and then after that, so I was there for a while, and I met a lot of New York comics when they came to Chuckles in Tempe, but they lived in Los Angeles. Well, that's where I met Belzer. Right. And then I moved to Chicago to do Second City and to do stand-up before moving to New York, and that's when I met you guys.
Wow.
And, yeah.
I always thought you were from the East Coast.
Yeah, as soon as I was 19 the first time I went to New York, and as soon as I got off the plane, I thought, this is where I'm from. Because I never felt like I belonged in Arizona. I don't know, it just felt like I was born there. So, and I fit in with the comics and the scene and all that stuff. It was the right thing to do. But here I am in my apartment in Koreatown during COVID. Oh, God.
So was Belzer nice to you?
He's the one that got me into Catch. I said I was moving to New York, and he said, when you get there, I'll get you in. And so then when I didn't have to take a number, I got on, and Adrian and Larry Amoros and JJ Wall passed me. So it was like, it was one of those things, just like it happened. Because of Belzer, I am where I am today.
It's funny because I was working, do you remember there was a comedy club upstate New York that Bob Woods used to book? It was Dubonnaise.
Yeah.
So I was doing Dubonnaise opening for Belzer. Oh. And I had a pretty good set. And Belzer just couldn't be bothered with the show. It was one of those nights. Right. So somebody yelled out, "Bring back the magic guy." And he was like, "Yeah, babe, that's what you want, babe? All right, babe. So let me tell you how he did this, babe." And he takes my act out and he starts fucking with everything in my bag. Yeah, this is how this works, babe. This is how. And I was like, and I was getting so pissed off. And he walks off stage and I'm like, all right, here it's going to go down now. And he walks up to me and he goes, shakes my hand. He goes, "I so apologize." He goes, that was so rude of me. And he goes, that was so uncalled for. And I'm really, and every time he came to New York for anything big, he'd always ask me to open for him.
Oh, wow.
It was really, yeah. So it's not like, that's why I was surprised when you go, yeah, he was a nice guy.
Yeah, no, he was. I mean, he really came through on his word and all that. And I mean, because I wouldn't have known anyone how to get it, it was just that he was working there at Chuckles, and so stuff like that really helps you along the way. Jerry Seinfeld, I was at, sorry to interrupt, but.
No, go.
Well, if you mentioned Seinfeld, everybody better But Jerry Seinfeld, we were at Columbus, remember that Columbus restaurant, 79, Columbus Circle or Columbus Avenue restaurant, and then Bud was there, and then Jerry introduced me to Bud and said, "Jann, you got to put her on at your club," because I was going to move to LA because I don't know, I just wasn't getting as many spots, and it was like everything was just turning. The Catch wasn't the same and all that stuff. So I don't know. It was time to go to LA, I guess. I always regret if I didn't go. I don't know. I'm not sure.
So what did you think? Like, what is your biggest obstacle being a female comedian in a male-dominated world?
Exactly that. All of that. Everything that... like I never really, you guys were at East Side and I never really felt, and the audience was more like Guy. And then Messina used to book me at, the Rainy Night House and stuff. And I decided to pull out. It really taught me a lot, to be more aggressive on stage, but it's not my nature to be super aggressive, but I had to come up with some stuff that was going to let them know, like, don't mess with me, so, you know what I'm saying? Cause,
yeah. There's a difference between doing Long Island and doing Caroline's.
I think the more you have to fight as a young comedian, the better you turn out to be, because you can go on stage and do your stuff by rote, but man, if you really have to fight it out, I've always learned more from adversity than I have from when it went easy,
Oh yeah, no, those clubs were tough, and that's what that helped me a lot to kind of dance on your feet. And if a heckler or something like that, you got to learn to kind of lay them flat. So,
well, do you remember when Seinfeld did that movie about coming back doing comedy?
Oh yeah,
he's in his private jet.
Comedian. Oh yeah.
And looking for spots. And he says to his manager, "Bring me out to Governors. I want to work the Wild West."
Oh yeah.
And he goes to Governors, and people are just yelling stuff out and heckling them and stuff. I worked Governors for 20 years, and I've never had anybody scream crap out like that.
Sure.
Oh really? Do you think it's because he was famous?
Yeah. No, I think it was a good movie.
Oh,
Yeah,
it was what? Oh,
I think it was the magic of the movie.
Oh, he wanted to make it look like that.
Yeah, like he could handle anything.
I always had good sets at Governors, and
and they also controlled the room. They would never let people yell out stuff.
If you want to go to the Wild West, you go to Betty's Fireside. I like to see Seinfeld there.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
He would do great anywhere now. He's Jerry Seinfeld. You know what I mean?
He walks
it's like he's going to do better than Mike Grief. I'll tell you that.
Betty's Fireside is an infamous East Coast. I think it's somewhere in Jersey hell room. It's just it's like a gladiator arena. It's terrible.
It was like an open mic, right?
It was paid. It was just horrible.
I just remember some of the open mics they had downtown, and just the name would scare the hell out of you. Remember there was a place called Downtown Beirut.
Oh,
my God, I do remember that.
Was there really?
Yeah, there was.
Oh, was that in where's Fred Stoller from? Bayside.
Is it Bayside? That was Jimmy's Comedy Alley in Bayside.
Jimmy's Comedy Alley.
Oh, okay.
I was a regular. I used to love Jimmy's Comedy Alley.
Well, that's a Seinfeld of Jimmy's would be a challenge. I think Jimmy's can get a little rambunctious.
Jimmy's been gone for like 30 years. So.
But Seinfeld coming up, that's an interesting thing, right? Didn't he used to do those rooms all the time, right? And it wasn't.
I don't really remember him doing a lot of those rooms, but I could be wrong.
All these rooms.
I know, but it's so funny because I talked to Dana Carvey because I opened for Dana Carvey a lot, but not since COVID, or he'll go out again soon. But we always say, what would Jerry say? We always always the conversation ends up being about Jerry.
Yeah, you mentioned Freddie Stoller. When I first worked with Freddie Stoller, this is how long ago it was. He used to have a ventriloquist dummy. And he would take it out, and he would, like he was going to do it, and then he would dance with it.
Oh,
that's all he would do. He wouldn't do any ventriloquism. He would show the dummy and dance with it. And he told us when he was on how, I said, whatever happened to that dummy? And he told us how he was working at Governor. So here it goes. And a guy got up and stabbed the dummy.
Are you kidding?
I've apologized for that many times.
He said that the guy, it was, the way he talked, he goes, he said the guy said that he was tripping on LSD. And he goes, apparently LSD makes you want to stab dummies.
Oh.
And he goes, and the club was so upset they brought it to a doll doctor, but they couldn't save it.
Oh my God. True story?
Yeah, true story.
Okay, wait. One thing I want to add about all those clubs is that I was talking to Seinfeld because I talked to him all the time back then. And then I go, I'm in Springfield, Missouri, or not Missouri, Springfield, Mass. And then I go, oh, it's this whatever, describing the place. He goes, oh, it's a restaurant. It's a restaurant with a table missing. So all the comedy clubs, he would say it's a restaurant with a table missing. Because that's, remember like Dominic's? Was it Dominic's or was there like a little, and then they moved a table and they put you in the corner and then they called it.
Yeah.
Oh, that describes 1,000 places.
Yeah. So that's
the worst. We were talking the other day. The worst places where they would pull a pool table over and put a piece of plywood on top.
Oh, and how'd you get up with the bar?
I had to stand on a chair to get on.
I guess I never did that.
It was the worst. They were the worst.
That's too high of a stage, right?
Yeah, it's like your head's like almost hitting the ceiling. Jackie Martling booked the room. He had a car headlight for a spotlight.
Oh
and
my God.
Halfway through the set, you felt your skin was melted off. It was about 5 feet from your face.
Yeah.
It's terrible. So you were on Seinfeld and Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Curb Your Enthusiasm, one of my favorite shows.
Yeah.
So what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Seinfeld. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So then Larry David saw you on that?
No. Because I know Larry and Jerry from New York, right? From hanging out at Catch and so then they had me audition for Seinfeld like 3 different times. And on the third time, I think it was the third, it was awful because you walk in and it's like, oh, hi. And they go, Jan, how are you? They're trying to be all casual, but it's so, George Shapiro's there, the casting director, Mark Hirschfeld's there, some other people, whoever wrote the show was there. And then Jerry and Larry just sitting there. And it's just awkward because, you know them from the clubs. And then, so the third time I said, okay, if I don't get this one, I am not going to audition again, which is a stupid thing to say. So at that time, we didn't have cell phones. So, like they say, like, let it go and just go on with your life, do your audition and forget about it. So that time I decided to do that. And I went to a movie and I think I saw Terminator or something. So at midnight, I was like, I'm because I had an answering machine. Isn't it weird that you can't be? Because otherwise I'd be in the movie like with my phone the whole time. So at least I could be present watching Terminator. And then, so I get out of the movie at midnight and I check my machine, and then and I got the message like you got the job and be on the set at 9 a.m. So I was like, oh my God! So I had to run home. It happened like that quick. So then I was there at 9 in the morning. So that was exciting. I finally got out of 3,
The only thing more terrifying than the audition is actually getting the job and having to show up the next day for the job, right?
Yeah. And I had a boyfriend at the time that was really like obnoxious and volatile. And then he was driving me. And then I said, you should put air in the tires because you could get because they were already like the treads, like you didn't take care of stuff. And then the treads on the tires were, so it's like stuff like your dad would say, or your mom, like, you should get air in your tire. You should fix the tires because you might have a blowout. And he goes, stop telling me what to do. And then he pulled over, he got out of the car and he left me on my way to Seinfeld, the biggest day of my life. One of them. And I had to drive this piece of crap car to the thing, but it was, with no support. Because, well, you shouldn't have told me about the tires.
There you go.
It sounds like an episode of Seinfeld.
Yeah.
What's so funny about Larry David? Jeff Garland, when I used to work the comic strip in Fort Lauderdale, he was like an audition act. And he had no act at all. Had absolutely no act. And this was his entire act. I used to fall on the floor watching him, but I was the only one laughing. This is his whole act. Picture what he looks like. He'd be on stage and he goes, so a guy walks into a bar and he'd do like a bar joke. And then he'd go, hey, it's comedy. Ho! And kick his leg up there. It's comedy. Hey.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was the only one that thought it was funny.
Inside stuff.
Yeah. But it's amazing how well he's done. When I used to see him coming into the comic strip,
Yeah. Because
you ever worked the comic strip in Fort Lauderdale?
You know what? I never did. And I don't know why.
It's
I think I didn't pursue it. But we talked about that the other day.
Yeah, Brian Reagan was the cook.
What? Was he really?
Yeah, he was the cook.
Seems like cooks and doormen do pretty well in this business.
Always.
Was that
Always.
that was kind of a boys' club too, though, right?
Yeah.
That was a little bit, yeah.
Well, it was what's his name from the comic strip?
Now, do you guys feel bad? Oh, Richie Tinkin.
Yeah,
Do
Richie.
you guys feel bad now that you guys were such boys' clubs and give?
I'm going to hang my head in shame.
Yeah. Do you realize now?
Well, there went less. Let's face it. Let's face it.
There were just less women comedians there.
Yeah.
You know, but maybe it was because
But I was
it was
like,
not.
hey, huh? Sorry.
I don't know. I don't know why. It's just a fact. There were always less. There seemed to be now. Maybe you're right. They weren't as encouraged. And I guess the audience were. When you see that male energy being female, it's hard. It's definitely hard to get somebody's attention after male energy.
Okay,
You know?
but in all fairness, there were very few really good female comedians. And I'm not being sexist here.
Mm.
I mean, a lot of the female comedians that were audition acts, and Jen, you can back me up on this, they were all doing stuff about feminine hygiene products and, periods and whatever. And that's why, like, when comedian like you and Sue Kolinsky, you guys were different. You know what I mean? You guys were different. It wasn't that same old
Linda Smith. I used to love her. She was funny.
Patty Rossborough.
Patty and Rita Rudner was before us, but she was doing like that quiet.
Wendy
Wendy
Liebman.
But it seemed like the ones that were coming up, like in the audition things that we were exposed to.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? We're all like that same. I mean, I've heard Sue and I have talked about this. How
what does she think?
It's like it's like cringeworthy.
I guess. What about the guys talking about their dates?
Yeah, see, that's the lowest common denominator. I have no respect for comedians that do that. I have zero respect. If you're not smart enough, clever enough, funny enough, if you have to do that, just get off the stage. You're just taking up time that could be used for me.
Yeah, exactly. What do you all think now with so much, and I'm thinking like, because of all the comedy classes it gave, and just the platforms of Instagram and everything that people could be seen, and just the proliferation of comedy now, kind of like it was in the 80s and 90s. You know how it just now it's exploded again. And then what do you think about how I feel like a lot of people are really filthy and graphic and dirty? And that's
I've been going. I went to open mics in Los Angeles about 5 years ago, and everybody was talking. I mean, literally talking in graphic detail about defecation.
Yeah,
and I think people think it's the only way they'll get noticed because there is this huge, but it's not true. I think if you're clever, if you're smart, I used to have great material, and I would throw it away, man, because if it had to make a certain standard, even though it was material that I know other comics would have loved to have, but I threw it away because it didn't meet my standard.
Yeah.
Well, and people always go, and then what's really funny is a lot of their excuses. They go, "Well, look at Sam Kinison; he was filthy." Yeah, he was, but he was really clever.
Yeah, but it was a range
it was clever though. I mean, look, it doesn't get any more graphic than a dead guy in a morgue having sex. You know what I mean? But it was funny the way he did it.
Imaginative. And
it was funny.
Right. It wasn't dirty for dirty's sake, which is what a lot of comics do. It's like that shock value. It's like, but you have to have the goods behind it.
I think, I'm not sure, but maybe a little bit ago, then it started to be like, well, women can be like guys, female comedians can be like guys. So let's do what the guys are doing. And maybe, don't quote me, is that it's that Louis C.K. thing. And then the Comedy Cellar, kind of that guy thing. So I think then women start doing that, and I'm trying not to pin anyone down or say, or be so specific. It's just in general, that's the energy that I feel like when women started imitating that, like it became a thing. Like I can be a dude and just like that being a tough chick, because it's hard, it's hard to survive in that environment, with the BQEs and stuff, like at the Cellar, it's like, or how am I going to pull this out and just go up and be, not be too aggressive.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? But go ahead.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. It's
So I think it became like a thing, and then women see other women doing it, or guys see other guys. It's not just women doing it, and it gets such laughs. And it's also that whole being personal and self revealing, that it's like, oh, let me reveal and be vulnerable, but in a sexually graphic way, which that's not the only way to reveal, like saying, oh, I'm blowing this guy and my cat's taking a shit, and I'm like, I'm torn between, do I scoop the shit or do I keep blowing my boyfriend?
You've seen my act.
And it's
or
like,
your life, Craig.
It's my life, my act, the same thing.
Is that what you do?
Oh, yeah.
Craig,
Yeah.
I've seen you before.
Jeez, I hope I'd married over the cat.
I mean, how about the last stage of comedy where they weren't laughs?
What? What's that?
That alternative comedy when they weren't getting laughs.
Oh yeah. So that's another. It's funny for us to look back, I think, in how long we've been doing it, to see the different phases of comedy. Yeah, because the alt comedy, they were saying, but what about like Richard Pryor or
Lenny Bruce and
if
you go back,
Andy Kaufman, that was alternative.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I don't know if Andy Kaufman would have a stage right now. Can you imagine, like, he goes up somewhere?
Probably not.
Because it doesn't call for that now. It calls for boom, boom, boom.
Well, I don't know. He might, because I have a friend who's doing stand-up. I'm not going to name him, but he goes up and he does like this 4-minute bit, and I'm watching it, and then it ends, and I'm like, where was the joke? He goes, there is no joke. It was just an amusing story. I'm like, huh?
Right. Yeah.
See, and that's the difference. I think some guys go up and they want to tell you something humorous. I want you to throw up your liver. I want to see stuff coming out of your mouth,
Right. Right. True.
Throw up your liver.
I mean, look at this. I mean, we talk about how crazy comedy is. Who would have ever thought that Dice Clay would have had a career?
Hey,
yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, I remember when he first started at the East Side, his whole act was singing songs from Grease.
Oh, really?
He was a singer.
Oh.
He would sing Grease Lightning and do
a
couple, and he would get into that character as for Grease Lightning, and just do the thing with the cigarette and sing that song. He was a regular stand-up.
Yeah, you want to talk about a tough job. I opened for him a couple of times.
A gimmick, or not a gimmick, but a thing.
Well, I think Dice was a character that he did. At first, it was just he'd go, okay, I'm going to bring on my cousin, Dice, and then come put on the leather jacket and come out, But wow. You want to talk about a tough gig, though. Like I said, I opened for him a couple of times when he was at the pinnacle of his, and it was
wow.
I mean,
wow. I would be terrified.
He in real life is the biggest hypochondriac in the world.
Is he really?
When I had my appendix.
He's a nice guy too.
Yeah,
very nice guy.
My appendix had ruptured, and he calls me up one day and he goes, "Hey, Johnny, I heard your appendix ruptured." And he goes, "What was that all about?" And I tell him the story, and he goes like this. He goes, "All right, that's it, man. I'm not going through this. I'm going back to LA. I'm going to find a doctor that's going to remove my appendix."
Oh my God.
And I go, "I don't think you can do that." And he goes, "I can't take that chance. I'll be thinking about it every minute of my life."
Oh my God, really?
Pay me a couple of bucks. I'll remove your appendix.
So you've had a really great career. So what do you think have?
It's better, right? Let's sort of collarbone. Okay.
What do you think was your biggest break?
Well, I'm so sad because I feel like it's all over, and I'm trying to like.
We all feel that way.
You do?
Yeah, everyone does.
Not about you, about us.
Yeah. But I don't think that's a real. I think it's just a feeling. I honestly believe that this is going to be this huge rebound, and this older, not that we're old, whatever, but the talent is there's going to be a desperate need for it.
You know what would be so awesome? I think honestly is like the generations of like the people that have been doing it 30, 40 years, and relentless diehard comics that I watch people that, I've known for a long time, and it's so smooth and seamless and so pure of that person that's on stage that only time and experience can bring that kind of performance about. And it would be beautiful to have, if they want to have not even Netflix specials, but Showtime, where you just show these seasoned, flawless dancer-like performances of these great minds who have developed all these years, really fertile ideas and, just well-crafted and just that kind of relaxation and genuineness.
Yeah, I had a guy come up to me after the show once, and he goes, "You are the most relaxed person I've ever seen on stage." And
wow!
I went, really? I never feel that way.
Yeah, I know. It's a matter of like
he goes, "You look like you'd fall asleep. I mean, you're that relaxed." I was like, "Really?" And
wow.
But you never feel that way.
You look that way, you do, John. You see John performing, and you think he's like bored out of his skull. Hold on, guy.
That's not true. That's not true at all.
I thought the snoring was part of the act. I guess not.
We talked
What
the other day
about
about
you, Silky?
Hey.
Silky or Silky? Yeah.
It's Silky. I'm not a comedian. That's my.
I know. But you're.
Yeah, I know.
You have a no. I know. I noticed. No, but you have we have a take on it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's when people hone their craft and it just becomes second nature. It is so beautiful to watch.
It's rich.
It's just,
it's rich. I'm not saying other people aren't, but it would be nice to get a glimpse of that. We can all use a special, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. See, and now you know why we keep Joe here is for his beauty, not his comedy.
No, but you're right. It is. It's beautiful. Yeah. So.
Yeah. No. It's
Well, hey, maybe we will get our own specials once the whatever. I mean, I'm telling you, I think there's going to be a huge need because
you do. Because I feel like go ahead.
I was going to say there's a glut of comedy, but it's not really good. Everybody who's I've been on the show. I made my mother laugh. It's giggles tonight. It's this watered down, just terrible shows, and it's the reason why people don't want to pay big money to go to clubs anymore because they go, "What am I going to see? I'm going to see this crap." But I think
because how come all the clubs are sold out now these days? Oh, but they get big famous people, huh?
Yeah, if you're getting a big celebrity, you're going to get people come down. But I think that's the thing is I think like you just said before, the stuff that comes with age that's so smooth, there's no substitute for that. And I think there's going to be another wave like there was in the 80s where people are going to rediscover all of us old comedians.
Yeah, right.
Like as if we just started,
I think everybody feels this way. I always said this thing the other day where I was telling these guys, I'm done. I'm never going to perform again. I don't really care about it anymore and all this stuff. And then I got a job like 2 weekends ago for 500 people and the money was good. And I go, I'll do it. And it was really fun. And you know what? It was almost better because it was all exciting again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I think everyone from the COVID feels that same way. Like, right. We've all talked about it.
It's definitely going to be weird. I haven't been on a stage in over 2 years. Whatever. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. I'm kind of staying away right now myself, but other people are still out in the clubs like nothing and it's packed. And so I'm not sure what to do right now. You know what I mean? Like, wait, maybe I'm wasting, I should be out there, but.
No, I don't know. I'm putting health first. I was saying the beginning of the pandemic, when it was like March of 2020, I guess it was, I had a blood clot.
Oh.
Which ran from my, my whole, whatever. So anyway,
no.
What?
From your, what?
No. from my calf to my groin, but
Yeah. Right, Craig.
So ever since then, I've just been, COVID on top of that.
Yeah.
I'm just being really careful.
That's good. I mean, who knows? It is definitely a weird thing, right? It's like my friend said, he's a comic last night. He said, I feel like we're living half-life. It's like a half-life. We're not living. Right? So.
I had COVID in the beginning when it was fashionable, but it's.
Oh, you do?
Before there was a vaccine and everything.
Joe had it before the Delta variant. Yeah.
Had the original variant.
The Delta variant is so 2021.
In my day, we didn't go for variants. We didn't need variants.
No vaccine, no nothing.
In my day, we had no vaccine.
Hysterical.
We just walked into a place. In my days, we didn't have vaccines. We just walked into a place without a mask.
Oh, you had
We didn't
Omicron?
even have masks. Who had masks?
You had Omicron? Wuss.
Yeah.
It was so long ago we used masks that were made out of material.
That's hilarious.
Now they have Omicron,
This was on
Omicron light.
Yeah, right.
All right.
I just funny. That's good.
A third less sickness. I've got Omicron light.
Omicron light.
All right. I have a couple of more questions that viewers want to listen to.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So we've all had it. What do you feel was like your first legitimate moment where like you went, wow, I'm really in this business?
Yeah.
Was it being on Seinfeld or?
So when I first
Like when the moment where you go, my parents know what I'm doing is for real.
Yeah, I think I always thought that you said my parents. What? What'd you say?
Like when your parents go, oh yeah, my daughter's a comedian.
Yeah, but they never. There was always like this, but then doubt that it was never with them consistently like supportive. So it was always like, oh yeah, because like when I did Letterman, and my dad goes, "What are you gonna do? This is what you're gonna do. You should have stayed in Arizona and taught school." Like what? What about me is somebody who would do something like that? Just nothing's wrong with that, but that's not my lifestyle. That's not my to go down a traditional path, let's say. And then I did Letterman, and I said, well, I just did Letterman. That's like the gold standard. That's like the Olympics of comedy. And he goes, yeah? How much did that pay? And I was like, $846. I know. You're right. It was like, so he does the reality thing, which is not good. But I think the first thing everything was exciting, right? But when I came to Los Angeles, and then I got into William Morris, which was a bunch of guys that were just batting you around to different agents and didn't really kind of guide you. You were like, oh, and then they go, I can't help you anymore. I'm going to give you to Steve. And then Steve goes, I'm really excited to work with you. And then go, I can't help you anymore. And I'm doing like New York guys, but he goes, I'm going to give you to Mark. And then Mark's like, oh, I'm moving on to music department. So I'm going to, So it's like pass around. And Mendoza was at William Morris. And so was Fred Stoller. They like scooped up a bunch of comedians that came out from New York or whatever. And
I was going to say, when you get to the parking attendant at William Morris as your agent, then you know that.
Yeah. Oh, right. I'm moving to the parking lot. That's good. There's the tag.
Yes.
So long story short, not really, but I auditioned. So they got me auditions, and I got a Nell Carter pilot. And I auditioned. I did my own thing. It was like a Queens girl that goes, Morton's by the Bay. She worked in a catering place, and Nell Carter ran a catering place. And on Long Island, it was in Queens, yeah. And they go, Morton's by the Bay, caterings for all occasions. Yeah, somebody calls, they go, yeah, of course we do weddings, sir. Well, we don't really have a room by the Bay. I don't know, I guess they thought Morton's by the discount liquor store in town, And then I hung up, and I was like chewing gum. So I got that part, and that pilot didn't get picked up. But that was like the first, like making a deal and having to test in front of the networks and beat out all these other people. But then it didn't get picked up. And my mom to this day, if only they picked up that Nell Carter show, you would have been something.
I've had several experiences like that myself.
You do some good impressions. You do Melania Trump too, right?
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, it's not really, it's an impression. It's a
character.
It's a thing. Yeah. I just say, this is what I was saying. Like, how they're like her and Donald are walking, they get out of the plane, and then what's it called? I always called it the runway, but it's not the jetway or
gangway.
The gangway, the tarmac, or
the tarmac. Well, it depends on what you're talking about. You're talking about the stairs or
the stairs. What are the stairs? Google. What are the stairs?
Well, it's a gangplank on a ship. What's it called, John?
Gangway.
It's a gangbang if it's with Trump.
It's a gangbang.
Gangbang? What?
It's called the gangway.
So they're walking down the thing and on to the across the tarmac.
Tarmac.
And then
Yeah, no, you're right. Tarmac.
tarmac, yeah. And then you know how everyone always thinks he's reaching for her hand, but and she always pushes it away. And she's like, yeah, he's always pushing his hand. He reaches over and then she's always says, "Don't grab pussy." That's what she's doing. That's what she don't grab pussy. I try to tell him, you walk hand in hand, not hand in pussy. Because a lot of guys, they'll just take it and they'll hook it and they'll pull you. That's my only kind of graphically, but that's funny.
Yes, it is funny.
That's very funny.
No. But yeah, that's I try to teach Donald to be romantic. Like we take long moonlight walk along the beach, hand in hand, not hand in pussy. Yay! My first stand-up in 2 years.
There we go. So I see behind you have a painting, and that's probably from your show.
Well,
right?
It's a model from my show because so I worked it out. Okay, so the show I paint because I decided
Okay, the name of the show is Reclining Nude on La Cienega. Right?
Yeah, and it's like finding peace in the chaos because La Cienega is like this crazy, it's like Reclining Nude on Times Square before it got remodeled.
For the East Coasters, La Cienega is a big boulevard down in Hollywood.
Yeah, and it's like crazy traffic.
We actually have a little clip if you want to show that.
Oh, okay.
My dad made enough money to build a house in the new part of town, taking us even further into the outskirts. And then, to keep the light out of our house, because my mom had special iron curtains installed, and the tiniest bit of sunlight was forbidden. Mom, can't we open the curtains just once? It's like we're living in lockdown. No, the air conditioning bill. Okay, calm down, Vampira. When I first saw Dracula movie, I thought, oh, he must be from Arizona.
Thank
That's
you.
great.
I don't know. They put too much stuff in my hair, and I was telling myself just focus on the performance, but I was dying because this girl from Coima, which is some place outside of LA, they got her last minute to do my hair, and I was like, I should have just done my own hair. It's like my one chance, and it's always been a thing about my hair.
I always do my own hair.
Doesn't it look awful, you guys? My hair.
No, you look fantastic. Stop.
I don't look anyway. Okay. So then I worked on this to work that part out because it's like, what do I? And so this is the town and then this is the house up. Oh, you can't. Oh, let me pull it down. Okay, so there's the house that we lived in, this little tiny town, and so then it was all the way, and then we would go to my mom would take us to the lake. And that was our one exciting thing is to take us to the lake. So I always wanted to find the artist colony out of this tiny town. So then I get, it's like life isn't the artist colony. The artist colony is like moments like this where we're talking to each other and laughing and having fun. So that's the artist colony. There's not really a place per se. I'm sorry to tell you. Is that too heady for this kind of a show?
No.
I was thinking of Painting of Arizona. You remember that Twilight Zone episode of The Midnight Sun when she's painting? It's just a whole canvas. It's just the sun. That's a picture.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe a couple of dead geckos upside down.
Oh, yeah. I didn't see that one.
How so in the show? How long is the show?
It's about 70 minutes.
Right.
And so George Slaughter, from Laughing, and I did. We talked about that. We did that comedy club show. So I always knew him over the years, and he was always very supportive. And then I got stay in touch with him, and so I got him he actually came to the show a long time ago. God, I was working on it for so many years, put it up in theaters, and then he came in 2012 to see it, and then he goes, let's shoot it. And then in 2015 he did it with George Shapiro, Jerry's manager, and then they, like, it was more Slaughter's thing, so he was trying to get it on like Netflix and stuff, but then just kind of fell by the wayside. Have it on YouTube. What?
For those people listening that don't know who George Slaughter is, he was the originator of Laugh-In and basically discovered Goldie Hawn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Lily Tomlin.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so anyway, then I put it up on YouTube. I wanted to tour with it and do this, because it's comedy and storytelling. And one thing that frustrated me about comedy is that I wanted to like delve deeper into relationships and stuff and, family dynamics and not, so it's a funny, fun show with a guy it's like a play, beginning, middle, end with a nice ending that gives you hope.
There's nothing better than a good one-person show. I love them when, definitely.
Yeah.
I remember the first one I ever saw was a Colin Quinn called Sanctifying Grace, his first one, which was amazing.
Yeah, he does a lot of those. He does a lot of those shows. Yeah, he has a lot of them.
Yeah, I saw Lily Tomlin do hers on Broadway.
That's exactly
amazing.
And I saw
I saw Whoopi Goldberg.
That's who I saw. Yeah. And then that inspired me to do mine.
That was her.
Yeah.
Are you planning on going back into the theater with your show with the reclining?
I would love to. I mean, my goal was get it on a platform, Netflix or whatever, and then go around and tour in theaters and things like how Colin does, Colin Quinn. But I haven't had made that opportunity. Haven't made it happen. And then
talk to Jerry. Talk to Jerry. I think Jerry. Well, in the beginning, I don't know if he's doing them now, but he was producing some of Colin's shows.
Yeah. Let me get him on the phone.
Hold on, I'll get him right. I'll get him right now.
Yeah.
Hi, Jerry. Let me tell you. No.
Yeah, right. I don't like things. Yeah. No, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, no, it would be great. And George Shapiro's, but he was helping me out, kind of a thing. So we'll see. There's still hope for it. Yeah. So meanwhile, I have it on YouTube at www.
Well,
give it to us. We can run the banner on the bottom of the show.
Yeah.
We'll put it right there underneath you.
Send it to us.
Dana Carvey did he came by. He did the intro for me, and then, and he did the promo and all that kind of stuff. So it's still in the works. You know what I mean?
That's great. So, you have what, 3 big canvases or 2 canvases?
I have 3. I have 3 on stage. I have the boyfriend relationship one. I have like the family life kind of one, and then like where I live, whatever, the garden, and then I have the town I'm from and the lake, which was like, but I had to figure out how to paint and do the punchlines at the same time, and it actually made it like really big laughs because people lose their, like, they don't think, it like gets to their unconscious mind because they're not, the paint really just throws them off. They're like, aren't you you get that on your clothes? Does it wash off? And then they kind of relax after a while.
And you're all dressed in white, I noticed.
Yeah, you're all dressed, because we come into this life, and innocent, and then we get painted on, and that's those colors.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, right? Isn't it a good idea?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'd love to. I'm going to definitely check it out. I mean, I'd love to see it live, but if the only place I can see it is on YouTube, I'll check it there.
Okay, yeah. No, I would love to do it. And then George Slaughter was telling me, don't paint so much because we want to see your face, because I really wanted to go more all out on when we taped it, the special, but I just like kind of listened to him. So I mean, which is true, but if we had another camera, then you'd see,
right,
I wanted to go more ballistic, you
could have a camera from behind stage,
Yeah. But other than that, I mean, it came out really well, and I was happy that he produced it and paid for it and everything. So there's still hope, and especially now, it's like finding peace in the chaos is a subject now more than ever, because of the madness in the world. It's not just like
because of the.
I was going to say I have to meditate for 10 minutes every day. I meditate in the morning on, better ways to kill my enemies. But just
That's good.
to get to my center and their center.
Yeah, that's good.
We have a photo too. You did a like a public service thing about wash your hands. During the
Oh
COVID.
yeah.
So-
Okay, nice. I
Why'd you
said
bring
that.
that up, Craig?
We do have it. Hold on.
I want to do videos. Oh my.
Hey, look at that.
Hey.
That is
Order
cool.
yours today. That makes it scammy. But during COVID, so I was like, okay, because the clubs closed and staying home, and since I paint and I do this handprint, like make your own way in life. That's the last line of the show is make a left on Orlando, whatever. It's a street that's off the beaten path, so go your own way. So I had this handprint, and I noticed people weren't washing their hands and following basic safety guidelines. So I thought, oh, what if I take my handprint, put a thing, wash your hands. So then I created public health awareness art. And then here's a t-shirt.
Oh,
Nice.
And then I got it to Howie Mandel, and he's worn it a bunch on his podcast and on TMZ and stuff, because he's a big germaphobe.
Right.
And
amazing.
so I wanted to get it like in schools and things and hospitals, instead of the standard safety signs, just to have something fun and arty as a way to make people pay attention. So that's what I did, try to stay creative.
oh, cool.
Oh, very neat.
Yeah.
It's such a habit now. It's like you're washing your hands 42 times a day. I remember before COVID, I think the last time I washed my hands was like 77.
Oh, God.
I could still taste like the old White Castles on there,
Wait, what'd be funnier, 77 or 85? What's funnier? 85. No. Yeah, right. That's sorry I stepped on your punchline.
No.
The White Castle's in that broad. Okay.
So you're painting behind you. Back to your show. That was in an art gallery, right? I saw it in the video.
Oh yeah, it was. It's some what was it called? Barnsdale. They have a show there, and it was there. That's in Los Angeles, and
Nice.
so, and
Yeah, it's just fun. Anything you do, it's fun. And it's like at least people notice,
what'd you say?
At least you get people to notice like all different aspects of your career. It's kind of
Well,
cool.
yeah, right. I mean, I want to, like Jerry Seinfeld. It comes back to Jerry. He always says, "I'm glad that I'm not multi-talented because I don't have other things pulling at me. I just can do the stand-up, right?" Which is, I always think about that, like just focus on stand-up. But then when there's more that you want to say, and the medium is limiting, maybe you find another way to say, if it's about self-expression, like your show, doing this podcast, right? You find this is a way for you to vocalize other ideas and, express yourself in a different way besides stand-up.
Right.
What's
Which
the only
is,
creative?
to me, it's become very limiting. Go ahead. What?
Well, I was just saying this is the only creative thing we're doing these days, because if you can tell by looking at us, there's nothing else creative pulling at any of us.
No, what are you doing stand-up still? I mean, you said you hadn't done stand-up in 2 years, Mike, but
Well, I was more concentrating on the acting for a long time. And, as you know, LA is very limiting. You can't make a living in LA
you still
doing
live out
stand-up.
here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm up in the high desert.
Oh, where?
But, the Antelope Valley.
Okay.
But still, I mean, I'll go down and when things are better, do stand up. But it's hard to make a living as a stand up. You can't make it in LA. You still have to be on the road, and I've got things that limit me from going on the road. So I was concentrating more on the acting, which was going well for a long time, and then it started to peter out a little bit, and I started doing some more stand up. But you almost have to. I was producing shows because there's none out there to to go and make money. So I'm finding places to do. I was hiring comics and doing it. And,
right. To get
He hired me. He hired me.
Oh yeah, to go to do stand up. I mean,
just do the sound.
Oh, okay. Do you live in LA, Do you live in LA then, Craig?
I live in the Low Valley.
Okay. Yeah.
The very low valley.
The Low Valley, yes.
I'm like, what about Silky? Yeah.
Long Island.
Oh, okay. And
Yeah,
John's in Florida, right?
And I am in the most Republican state in the world.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I don't want to. There's a COVID tracker, and
Right.
so it's like health weather by Kinsa. They have thermometers and stuff, and so Florida, it was like 99 everywhere, the COVID dial, but in Florida it was 41. So it was like, wait, how does Florida? It was 50. How does Florida have 50 COVID?
I'll tell you why. Because our governor, Ron DeSantis, doesn't let COVID testing because he doesn't want to see the numbers.
But my friend wrote, how come to Kinsa and said, hey, how come the New York Times says Florida's 99 and you guys, Kinsa health weather says 50? And they go, and Tennessee as well. They said, oh, thanks for bringing that to our attention. It's because they only report once a week and everyone else reports once a day. So they fixed it. And it's
so so yesterday they had a hearing for Ronnie's new what do you call it? The head medical guy for the country.
I saw.
Right? Yeah, and he couldn't answer a question about do COVID vaccines work and do masks work. He goes, it's a matter of science. It's a matter of opinion. It's like, yeah, well, the opinion says it does. But he skirted the question so many times that all the Democrats got up and walked out of the room.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
My God.
From what I've heard, DeSantis and guys like that have stock in the vaccine. Yes. And so the reason why they don't promote, they want this pandemic to last as long as possible.
No, not in the vaccine. They have, that acromal, whatever they, the
anti-monoclonal, whatever.
The guy who owns that company is DeSantis' biggest donor.
That's why he was trying to get, and he was saying Biden cut it off.
I drive rideshare, and last week they had the UFC, and I picked up a guy who actually worked for UFC, and he went to get in my car without a mask. I go, dude, you got to put a mask on. He goes, oh, dude, really? Oh, you guys out here. He goes, I'm from Florida. We don't do any of this shit. We never wear a mask. We go into restaurants, we go into cars, and you know what? Nobody's sick. We're fine. You guys are, and he's going off on me, and I'm like, yeah, you just keep the mask on.
Meanwhile, they told me I have to have a hip surgery, and I can't even get a date for 3 months because the hospitals are filled with COVID patients. So that's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, but he was like, oh, dude, yeah, masks are overrated. You're wearing that, but it's not going to do anything for you. I'm like, yeah, okay, fine.
See, I try to be mellow these days, but I'm waiting for the guy to come up to me and say, "Oh, masks don't work," or "This doesn't work." I don't know if I'll be able to control myself.
Fists do. Bang. There you go.
Yeah.
I was online the other day at the post office where they didn't have. No one in the post office had masks on. That's a federal building, and
postal workers are trying to kill you one way or another.
It's so funny because everyone in LA has a mask. You don't.
The guy in front of me, no mask, with a big shirt, #unmask our children. And my girlfriend's a teacher, and she said she tests herself like almost every 3 days a week because everyone around her, teachers, kids, all dropping like flies from COVID.
Does she wear a mask when
she wears? Not dying, just getting sick and being out,
It's like my buddy. It's like my buddy Blake Clark says. It's time to thin the herd.
I love Blake Clark.
Yeah, I've known Blake forever, man. He's just the best.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we are almost out of time. But we have a few more questions. Yeah, couple of things.
Am I going to do an impression?
Yeah, you did it. Did you?
What was it? Oh.
You did it. You did
I
Melania.
said that. Yeah. I was just going to tell you. Okay, I have a series that I wrote too. That
No, don't. We're not good. Just go. Just tell us everything you want.
No, I was going to tell you about the Accidental Madam. It's called The Accidental Madam, and it's about me, a comedian who with national TV credits, who's works as a bartender at rich people's homes, and then invariably runs into famous people like David Spade that she knows, but David's not. Say somebody like David isn't interested in her, and more than, but he's interested in the hot waitress. So he wants to be set up with her, and she needs to pay her rent, and the main character, the comedian, needs to get a root canal. So they agree to, get Spade. I'm not saying it's Spade, but he'd be good.
Get Spade laid.
Get Spade laid. That's the name of it. To get him, and then we get the money, and she's treated like royal, goes to the W Hotel or wherever, and picked up by a limo and roses and room service. Meanwhile, I'm eating out of boxes with my boyfriend at the parking lot at Whole Foods, and he's like, "Hey, you said you wanted dinner." So it's that same kind of guy.
Come on, that's romance. Come on.
I know. And so we get our money, and then I pay for my root canal. She pays her rent, and then I'm like, I'm never gonna do this again. The character, so we're gonna do this again, and then the phone rings. Hey, I'm a friend of Spade's. Listen, and then it becomes the Accidental Madam. So cool. We're running into celebrities and having them, and so then it's like kind of sexy and funny and real, cool. And kind of like her.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah. So if you want to produce it, let me know.
Okay. And you had, we can't just end here. You also had almost like your own type of podcast. It was a video show.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah. Called In Bed with Jann Karam.
In My Bed. Yeah. In Bed. Yeah. Right. And so then the idea of that was, instead of going to comedy clubs, and this was like in 2016, why don't I just, when I wake up or whatever the ideas that I'm going to write for that day, instead of driving whatever to work, get a 10-minute spot and work it out in front of 7 people, why don't I just work it out here in bed, or, and then talk to the camera and then I do a bunch of takes, and there was a concept, so then I did that for about a year or so.
That sounds better to me than coffee in cars with comedians. I'd rather watch.
Yeah.
I'd rather watch you.
Well, then I said, okay, let's tape it and have people come over, or I go there, and I could get, some celebrity friends to maybe do it. And so I started, the first one was with Fred Stoller, and he came over. I told him wear pajamas, but he brought jeans, and I'm like, no. So I gave him some of my sweatpants, and they were too short. It was funny. But we're in bed, in my bed, and like whatever you do in bed, and then it just forced like kind of intimate conversation. And then that was March 7th, 2020, right before COVID. And a week later, we were all shut down, or 2 weeks. We're like, what? COVID? So then I couldn't do it anymore in person. And then I tried doing it on internet, and it didn't really have the same feeling.
Yeah, it doesn't have that intimacy.
Yeah. So if you guys ever wanted, it's with people I've never slept with. Intimate secrets from people who were slept. So if anyone wants to do the show, once we get over this,
Silky's got his hand up.
Yeah. I go there, you come here, you fly me in.
Actually, it sounds like an incredible idea. I think that would be definitely a big hit show.
Okay, thanks.
It's fresh, it's innovative. Right.
Yeah, let's go with innovative and not and unseen.
It's very John Lennon-ish.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm serious. I think it would be great.
Yeah. I just didn't know what to do now with it. So, because
I think you have to wait until we're more healthy in society.
All right, everyone gets tested. I bring in the COVID team.
Get a COVID test and a herpes test, or whatever the.
Yeah.
You could do the whole show in hazmat suits.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sponsored by Trojan. No.
Yeah, we do a giant condom.
All right, so at the end of the show, we always ask like a couple of really Ridiculous.
Stupid questions.
Oh, good.
All right, here's the first one. If you were a mime,
Yeah.
would you hate yourself?
Wait, I'd have to be a different person to be a mime, right? So then
you know that old joke. There's a dead mime and a dead snake lying in the road. You know what the difference was?
yeah.
The mime was on his way to the snake was on his way to a paid gig.
Oh, right. Wait, I heard the one about the trumpet player. There's a trumpet player and a dead snake in the middle of the road. And what's the difference? The snake was on his way to a gig. That's what they say. Trumpet players don't work.
That's my stupid question for the week, and this is
I
Mike.
loved it. Okay.
And this is Mike's.
Yeah.
If you were to put Jerry Seinfeld in a blender and Larry David in another blender
and make smoothies out of them, which one would you drink first?
Wait, you put Jerry in a blender and then
Make a Jerry smoothie and a David, Larry David smoothie. Which one would you reach for? Which one would be more refreshing?
Larry.
There you go.
Larry smoothie. It would have a lot of layers.
Because Seinfeld gets everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right. We don't want to pick Seinfeld. Seinfeld doesn't need to be drunk.
Well, Jan, we can't thank you enough for doing the show. I hope you had fun.
I really did.
I hope you had fun. You can come back anytime you want. Anything you want to push, just give us a call. You can come back anytime.
If anyone wants to buy a T-shirt, they can go to jannkaram.com.
Send Craig all this stuff, and we'll run it as banners.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. No, it was really fun. I enjoyed talking to you guys a lot, all four of you. It was a podcast gangbang.
Whoa!
That's
my first one.
See what happens. Wait, 4 guys from Long Island, 1 chick from Arizona. Watch
That's
what
it.
happens. It's the East Side, all
And
over.
nobody ended up in a trunk.
Thankfully.
You guys, it was really fun. Thank you.
Oh, thanks so much for
thank
coming.
you. Thank you. It was
Let's do
great.
a Katie Couric ending.
Thank you
It
so
was
much.
great.
Thank you so much for being here.
I need Silky to do it, and I need Craig to do it. You guys, it was so wonderful.
It's so much fun, Jenny.
Bye. Thanks.
Goodbye. Thanks, Dan. Give a round of applause.
Yes.
It was very interesting. Wow, that was a great show, man.
Absolutely.
Really great.
Do you think she ever worked? Do you ever think she worked at Club Temptations in Tempe, Arizona?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you what. I'll definitely would love to see the reclining nude show, but also the one we were talking about. No joke, absolutely. If that was a show, I would definitely watch that. You know, have her in bed with different celebrities or comedian or whoever, anyone interesting. I think that would be an incredible format.
She had an amazing career. She's a very funny person. Glad to have her on the show, but we bring you the best here at the Big Bad Broadcast, which you can catch us every week on our Facebook page, the Big Bad Broadcast. That's right. And not only that, let's have a round of applause for the people on the show before I give you the website. We have Joe Silky.
Yeah.
We have Mike Grief.
Yeah.
We have Yoda Craig Mitchell.
Yeah.
And I'm John. And you can catch all of our shows, past, present. And you can hear them as a podcast. You can watch them. All the shows we've ever had on www.thebBBradio.com. But catch us on Facebook. It goes live every Friday at 12, and it'll run the whole week. And I'm telling you, got plenty of opportunity to see it. And who knows, in the future, Tony Ravioli may come back.
I'm telling you, we need to do a whole puppet show.
All righty. That's it. Over and out.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
See you next week.
Please remember to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Thank you.